Billionaire CEO's wife left him after arm amputation. He found love once again in the arm of his doctor. "I can't do this anymore, Tristan." Veronica Blackwell stood at the foot of her husband's hospital bed, her perfectly manicured hands clutching a Louis Vuitton overnight bag. Her blonde hair was styled flawlessly despite the early morning hour, and her designer dress looked more appropriate for a charity luncheon than a hospital visit. "Can't do what?" Tristan's voice was hoarse from the medications, his right hand instinctively moving to where his left arm used to be. The phantom pain was nothing compared to the ache in his chest as he watched his wife of 3 years pace like a caged animal. "This." Veronica gestured wildly at the hospital room, at the medical equipment, at him. The surgeries, the infections, the missing. She couldn't even say the word arm. "Veronica, I'm going to be fine. The doctor says I'm healing well, and with physical therapy, you're not fine." Her voice cracked with something that sounded like disgust rather than grief. "You're never going to be fine again. You're incomplete." Tristan felt the words hit him like a physical blow. "I'm still me. I'm still your husband. Are you?" Veronica's laugh was bitter and cold. "The man I married was perfect, strong, whole. He could protect me, take care of me, be everything I needed. What can you give me now? My love, my devotion, everything I've always given you. Love doesn't pay for the lifestyle I'm accustomed to. Love doesn't look good in photographs at charity galas. Love doesn't." She stopped herself, but the damage was done. Tristan stared at her in growing horror. "You're leaving me because I lost my arm. I'm leaving you because I can't spend the rest of my life married to half a man. Have you ever had someone show you their true colors when you needed them most? Have you ever discovered that the love you thought was real was actually just an illusion built on what you could provide?" This is the story of a man who lost everything that didn't matter and found everything that did. But what Tristan didn't know was that real love was waiting in the most unexpected place, in the compassionate hands of Dr. Amara Williams, the surgeon who would save more than just his life. Stay with me to discover how sometimes our greatest loss becomes our greatest gift. If you believe in love that sees beyond the surface, hit that like button and let me know in the comments. 3 weeks earlier, the morning sun cast long shadows across the Rocky Mountain peaks as Tristan Blackwell checked his climbing gear one final time. At 34, he was at the peak of his physical condition and professional success. As CEO of Blackwell Technologies, he built a software empire worth over $2 billion. His company's innovative programs had revolutionized how businesses manage their digital infrastructure. "Are you sure about this route?" his climbing partner Jake asked, studying the cliff face with obvious concern. The weather report mentioned possible rockfall in this area. "We've climbed harder routes than this," Tristan replied confidently, adjusting his helmet. "Besides, I need the challenge. The board meeting on Monday is going to be brutal, and I need to clear my head." Tristan had always pushed himself to extremes. Rock climbing, extreme skiing, base jumping, anything that provided an adrenaline rush to match the high-stakes world of corporate leadership. Veronica tolerated his hobbies as long as they didn't interfere with their social calendar or his earning potential. The climb started smoothly. Tristan moved up the rock face with practiced ease, his movements fluid and confident. He was in his element here, away from conference rooms and quarterly projections, using only his strength and skill against the mountain. Then everything went wrong. The crack of splitting rock echoed across the canyon like thunder. Tristan looked up just in time to see a massive boulder, easily weighing several tons, breaking free from the cliff face above him. "Rock fall." Jake's voice carried pure terror from below. Tristan pressed himself against the cliff, but there was nowhere to go. The boulder struck him with crushing force, pinning his left arm against the rock face before bouncing away into the canyon below. The pain was immediate and overwhelming, a white-hot agony that made him scream until his voice gave out. "Tristan! Tristan!" Jake's voice seemed to come from very far away. Tristan looked down at his left arm and immediately wished he hadn't. It was crushed beyond recognition, bent at impossible angles, the bones clearly shattered. Blood soaked through his climbing shirt, and he could see fragments of white that he realized were pieces of his own bones. "Jake," he called weakly. "I need help. I need help right now." The rescue took 4 hours. 4 hours of hanging from a cliff face, his destroyed arm secured against his body, fighting waves of pain and nausea while helicopters circled overhead and rescue teams rappelled down to reach him. By the time they loaded him into the medical helicopter, Tristan had lost consciousness from blood loss and shock. He woke up in Denver General Hospital's trauma center, surrounded by machines and the antiseptic smell of medical disinfectant. Veronica sat in a chair beside his bed, scrolling through her phone with obvious boredom. "You're awake," she said without looking up. "The doctors want to talk to you about options." The way she said options made Tristan's stomach clench. What kind of options? Before Veronica could answer, the door opened and a woman in surgical scrubs entered. She was tall and elegant, with dark skin and intelligent brown eyes that seemed to see everything at once. Her hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail, and despite the long hours evident in her posture, she moved with confident grace. "Mr. Blackwell, I'm Dr. Amara Williams, your orthopedic surgeon. How are you feeling?" "Like I got hit by a truck," Tristan managed. "Or a boulder." Dr. Williams' smile was warm but professional. "That's about right. You've been through significant trauma. I need to discuss your arm with you." Tristan's right hand moved instinctively toward his left shoulder, feeling the heavy bandaging that covered what remained of his arm. "How bad is it?" Dr. Williams pulled up a chair, positioning herself where Tristan could see her clearly without straining. "The damage is extensive. Multiple compound fractures, severe crushing injuries to the bones, muscles, and nerves. We've performed 3 surgeries to try to save the limb." "Try to save it?" Veronica's voice was sharp with alarm. "What do you mean try?" "Mrs. Blackwell, I understand this is difficult, but I need to be direct with your husband about his condition." Dr. Williams' tone remained calm but firm. "Despite our best efforts, the arm has developed a severe infection that isn't responding to antibiotics. The tissue is dying, and the infection is spreading." Tristan felt the world tilt around him. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying we need to amputate your left arm above the elbow to save your life." The silence in the room was deafening. Veronica made a small choking sound and stood up abruptly, moving to the window as if she could escape the reality of the situation. "If we don't amputate?" Tristan's voice was barely a whisper. "The infection will continue to spread. Sepsis will set in, and without intervention, it will be fatal." Dr. Williams leaned forward slightly. "Mr. Blackwell, I know this isn't the news you wanted to hear, but with amputation and proper rehabilitation, you can live a full, normal life." "Normal?" Veronica turned from the window, her face pale and stricken. "How is losing an arm normal?" Dr. Williams looked at Veronica with something that might have been disappointment before turning back to Tristan. "You'll face challenges, certainly. But with modern prosthetics and adaptive technologies, most amputees return to all their previous activities. I've seen patients go back to rock climbing, playing sports, performing surgery. There's very little you won't be able to do." Tristan stared at the ceiling, trying to process the information. Lose his arm or lose his life. When put that way, the choice seemed obvious. But the thought of being incomplete, of being seen as broken or damaged, filled him with a terror that had nothing to do with the physical pain. "How long do I have to decide?" he asked. "The infection is aggressive. I'd recommend surgery first thing tomorrow morning." Tristan looked at Veronica, hoping to see support or understanding in her eyes. Instead, he saw horror, disgust, and something that looked like calculation. "I need to think about this," he said finally. "Of course. But Mr. Blackwell, please don't wait too long. Every hour we delay increases the risk." After Dr. Williams left, Tristan and Veronica sat in tense silence. Finally, Veronica spoke. "You can't do this, Tristan." "Can't do what?" "Save my life. You can't expect me to stay married to someone who's disabled." The word hit Tristan like a slap. "Veronica, it's my arm, not my brain. I'll still be me. Will you? Will you still be able to run your company? Will you still be able to provide the life I'm used to? Will you still be the man I married?" Tristan studied his wife's face, seeing her clearly for perhaps the first time in their 3-year marriage. "You married me for what I could give you, didn't you? Not for who I am. Don't be ridiculous. I love you, but I also have needs. Expectations. I can't be married to someone who can't even button his own shirt. People adapt, Veronica. I'll learn. There are devices, techniques I don't want to learn. Her voice rose to near hysteria. "I don't want to have to help you dress or cut your food or watch you struggle with things that used to be simple. I married Tristan Blackwell, the powerful CEO, not some broken man who needs constant help." Tristan felt something break inside him, something that had nothing to do with his physical injuries. "If I don't have the surgery, I'll die? Is that what you want?" Veronica was quiet for a long moment. "I want my husband back. My whole, complete husband." "That's not possible anymore." "Then maybe we need to discuss what is possible." The implications of her words hung in the air between them. Tristan closed his eyes, feeling more alone than he ever had in his life. That night, as infection burned through his body and fever made him delirious, Tristan made his choice. He wanted to live, even if it meant living without the woman he'd thought loved him. Dr. Amara Williams had performed hundreds of amputations in her 8-year career as an orthopedic surgeon, but she'd never gotten used to the weight of taking away a part of someone's body. As she scrubbed in for Tristan Blackwell's surgery, she thought about the conversation she'd had with his wife the night before. "Doctor, I need to know exactly what my husband will be capable of after this surgery," Veronica had said, cornering Amara in the hallway outside Tristan's room. "With proper rehabilitation and adaptive training, Mr. Blackwell should be able to return to most of his normal activities." Most. Veronica had seized on the word. What won't he be able to do? Amara had studied the woman carefully, sensing something troubling in her questions. "Some fine motor tasks will require adaptive techniques. Certain sports or activities might need modifications. But Mrs. Blackwell, your husband will still be the same man he was before the accident." "No, he won't," Veronica had said flatly. "And I think you know that." Now, as Amara made the first incision, she pushed thoughts of Veronica Blackwell out of her mind and focused on saving her patient's life. The infected tissue was even worse than the scans had shown, confirming that amputation was the only option. The surgery took 3 hours. When it was over, Amara sat in her office, writing her post-operative notes and thinking about the challenging recovery that lay ahead for Tristan Blackwell. She'd seen how difficult amputation could be for patients, especially those who had defined themselves by their physical capabilities. She'd also seen how the support of family and friends could make all the difference in a patient's recovery. Unfortunately, she had a bad feeling about Mrs. Blackwell's ability to provide that support. Tristan woke from the anesthesia slowly, consciousness returning in waves. The first thing he noticed was the absence of pain in his left arm. The second thing he noticed was the complete absence of his left arm. He lifted his right hand to touch where his left arm used to be, feeling the bandages and the strange, truncated shape of what remained. The reality of his new condition hit him like a physical blow. "You're awake," Dr. Williams said softly, appearing at his bedside. "How are you feeling?" "Different," Tristan said honestly. "Very different. That's normal. The phantom pain you're probably experiencing is also normal. Your brain is still sending signals to nerves that are no longer there." Tristan nodded, not trusting his voice. He looked around the room, noting that Veronica was nowhere to be seen. "Where's my wife?" Dr. Williams hesitated. "She's handling the news in her own way. Some people need time to process these changes. She can't stand to look at me, can she?" Amara sat down in the chair beside his bed, her expression compassionate but honest. "Mr. Blackwell, recovery from amputation isn't just physical. It's emotional and psychological too. Not everyone in a patient's life adapts at the same rate. You're being diplomatic. I'm being realistic. Your wife is struggling with this change. But right now, my concern is you and your recovery." Over the next 3 days, Tristan saw very little of Veronica. She would appear for brief visits, usually when other people were present, and make polite conversation before finding excuses to leave. She never stayed long enough for them to have a real conversation about their future. Dr. Williams, on the other hand, was a constant presence. She checked on him multiple times a day, not just for medical reasons, but to gauge his emotional state. She brought him information about adaptive technologies, introduced him to other amputee patients who had successfully returned to active lives, and patiently answered his questions about what to expect. "The key to successful adaptation," she explained one afternoon, "is understanding that you're not becoming a lesser version of yourself. You're becoming a different version, one with new skills and perspectives." "Easy for you to say," Tristan replied, frustration evident in his voice. You still have both arms. Amara was quiet for a moment, then rolled up the left sleeve of her scrub top. Tristan's eyes widened as he saw the intricate prosthetic arm that had been hidden beneath the fabric. I lost my arm in a car accident when I was 16, she said matter-of-factly. Drunk driver ran a red light and T-boned my family's car. My little brother died. I spent 6 months in the hospital and 2 years learning to adapt. Tristan stared at her prosthetic arm in amazement. I had no idea. You're a surgeon. I'm a surgeon because losing my arm taught me what the human body is capable of overcoming. I'm a surgeon because I wanted to help other people face the same challenges I faced. Amara rolled her sleeve back down. Mr. Blackwell, I'm not going to lie to you. The next few months will be difficult. But if you're willing to work, if you're willing to adapt, you can have a full and meaningful life. What if the people in my life can't adapt with me? Amara's expression grew gentle. Then you'll discover who truly loves you for who you are, and who only loved you for what you could do for them. On his 6th day in the hospital, Tristan was finally strong enough to sit up in a chair and begin basic physical therapy. He was working with an occupational therapist, learning to perform simple tasks with one hand, when Veronica finally returned for a real conversation. She waited until the therapist left, then closed the door and turned to face him with an expression of grim determination. We need to talk, she said, pulling legal documents from her purse. Tristan felt his stomach drop. What are those? Divorce papers. The words hit him like a physical blow. Veronica, please. I know this is hard, but we can work through this together. No, we can't. Her voice was cold and final. I've thought about this for days, and I can't do it. I can't spend the rest of my life taking care of an invalid. I'm not an invalid. I'm learning to adapt. Dr. Williams says, I don't care what Dr. Williams says. Veronica's composure finally cracked. I care about my life, my future, my needs. I married you because you were successful, powerful, complete. You can't give me those things anymore. Tristan stared at his wife, seeing her clearly for the first time. You never loved me at all, did you? I loved what you could provide. The lifestyle, the status, the security. What can you provide now? My heart, my devotion, my love. Veronica laughed bitterly. Love doesn't pay for designer clothes or fun charity galas. Love doesn't look impressive in society photos. I need a man who can take care of me, protect me, be everything I need. I'm still that man. You're half that man. Literally. Veronica set the divorce papers on his bedside table. I've already spoken to lawyers. I'm not asking for much, just enough to maintain my lifestyle until I can find someone suitable. Tristan felt tears burning his eyes. Veronica, please. Don't do this. We can make this work. I love you. Then prove it by signing these papers and letting me go. That's not love. That's abandonment. Call it whatever you want. Veronica gathered her purse and moved toward the door. I'll be staying at the plaza until this is finalized. My lawyer will contact yours. Veronica, wait. Tristan's voice broke with desperation. Please don't leave me. Not like this. Not when I need you most. She paused at the door, her hand on the handle. I can't be what you need anymore, Tristan. And you can't be what I need. It's better for both of us if we end this now. I'm begging you. Please don't give up on us. There is no us anymore. There's just you, learning to live with what's left. The door closed behind her with a soft click that sounded like the end of everything Tristan had thought his life was about. After Veronica left, Tristan fell apart completely. The physical pain of his amputation was nothing compared to the emotional devastation of being abandoned by the woman he'd loved and trusted. He refused physical therapy, barely ate, and spent his days staring at the ceiling in hollow-eyed despair. Dr. Williams found him that way 3 days later, sitting in his hospital chair, still wearing the same clothes, the divorce papers crumpled on the floor beside him. Mr. Blackwell, she said gently, you missed your therapy session again. I'm not going to therapy anymore. Why not? Tristan gestured toward the crumpled papers. What's the point? She was right. I'm incomplete. Broken. Half a man. Amara picked up the papers, smoothing them out as she read. Her expression hardened with anger. These papers don't define you, Mr. Blackwell. They define her. She's right, though. I can't give her what she needs anymore. Good. Amara's response surprised him. Because what she needed was someone to use, not someone to love. Tristan looked at her sharply. You don't understand. I loved her. I gave her everything. And what did she give you? Amara sat down across from him, her dark eyes intense and focused. Did she support your dreams? Did she encourage you to be your best self? Did she stand by you when things got difficult? She was there for the good times. That's not love, Mr. Blackwell. That's convenience. Tristan was quiet for a long moment. It doesn't matter anymore. She's gone, and I'm this. You're a man who survived a catastrophic accident. You're a man who made the brave choice to live. You're a man with intelligence, humor, kindness, and strength that has nothing to do with how many limbs you have. Easy words. True words. Amara leaned forward. Mr. Blackwell, I've worked with hundreds of amputee patients. The ones who thrive aren't the ones who pretend nothing has changed. They're the ones who acknowledge the change and choose to grow from it. I don't know how to grow from this. One day at a time. One small victory at a time. One moment of choosing life over despair at a time. Tristan met her eyes for the first time in days. Why do you care so much? I'm just another patient. Amara was quiet for a moment, as if deciding how much to reveal. Because I see something in you that you don't see in yourself yet. Potential, strength, the capacity to not just survive this, but to thrive in ways you never imagined. How can you possibly know that? Because I've been where you are. The despair, the feeling of being broken, the certainty that life as you knew it was over. Amara's voice grew soft with memory. I spent 6 months convinced I'd never be useful again. My dreams of becoming a surgeon seemed impossible. I couldn't imagine anyone ever loving me as I was. What changed? I met a patient. A little girl who had lost both legs in the same accident that killed my brother. She was 7 years old, and she was learning to walk on prosthetics with more courage and determination than I'd shown in months. She looked at me one day and said, "Miss, why are you so sad? You can still help people with your good arm." Tristan felt something shift in his chest. She was right. She was right. And you know what else she was right about? I could still help people. I could still become a surgeon. I could still have a full, meaningful life. I just had to learn new ways of achieving my goals. Did you? Have a full life, I mean. Amara smiled, and Tristan realized it was the first genuine smile he'd seen from her that wasn't purely professional. I have an amazing career that I love. I have friends who see me as a whole person. I've had relationships with people who loved me for who I am, not what I can do for them. I've helped thousands of patients overcome their own challenges. And the little girl, she's 22 now, pre-med student at Johns Hopkins. She sends me a card every year on the anniversary of her accident, thanking me for showing her that disabilities don't define limitations, people do. Tristan felt tears threatening again, but this time they weren't tears of despair. I don't know if I can be that strong. You don't have to be strong all at once. You just have to be willing to try. The tension is building. Drop a like if you're feeling Knox's regret right now. What if I try and fail? Then you try again, and again, until one day, you realize you're not trying anymore. You're just living. Tristan looked at the crumpled divorce papers, then at Dr. Williams' compassionate face. Where do I start? You start by getting dressed and coming to physical therapy. You start by learning to tie your shoes with one hand. You start by believing that this is the beginning of your story, not the end. Will you help me? Mr. Blackwell, I'm going to help you discover just how capable you really are. Over the next 2 weeks, Tristan threw himself into rehabilitation with an intensity that surprised everyone, including himself. Physical therapy sessions that had once seemed impossible became challenges to conquer. Learning to dress himself one-handed evolved from a source of frustration to a point of pride. Dr. Williams was there for all of it, not just as his physician, but as a source of encouragement and practical wisdom. She taught him adaptive techniques she'd learned herself, shared stories of other patients who had overcome similar challenges, and gradually helped him see his amputation not as a limitation, but as a new parameter to work within. The key, she explained one afternoon as Tristan successfully buttoned his shirt for the first time, is to focus on what you can do, not what you can't do. This morning I couldn't button a shirt. Now I can. Tomorrow maybe I'll master the art of cutting food. Tomorrow you'll probably surprise yourself with something even more challenging. Tristan looked at her as she made notes in his chart, struck by how naturally beautiful she was. Not the polished, artificial beauty that Veronica had cultivated, but a natural elegance that came from confidence and genuine kindness. Dr. Williams, can I ask you something personal? You can ask. I might not answer. How did you get into medicine? I mean, really, was it just because of your accident? Amara set down her chart and considered the question. Partly, but mostly it was because of my brother, the one who died in the car accident. His name was Marcus. He was 12, 3 years younger than me. He had cerebral palsy, mild, but enough that he walked with crutches and had some speech difficulties. Amara's voice grew soft with memory. Despite his challenges, he was the most optimistic, joyful person I'd ever known. He wanted to be a doctor when he grew up, said he wanted to help kids like him feel normal. He sounds special. He was. After the accident, after I lost my arm and he lost his life, I felt like I had to carry on his dreams somehow. I had to become the doctor he would have been. Tristan felt a deep respect for this woman who had turned personal tragedy into a mission to help others. He'd be proud of you. I hope so. Some days I feel like I'm living for both of us. That's a heavy burden. It's a meaningful burden. There's a difference. Their conversations had been growing more personal over the past week, moving beyond the standard doctor-patient relationship into something that felt like genuine friendship. Tristan found himself looking forward to Dr. Williams' visits not just for medical updates, but for the intelligent conversation and emotional support she provided. Dr. Williams, can I ask you something else? Amara. If we're going to have personal conversations, you should call me Amara. Amara, can I ask why you're spending so much time with me? I know you have other patients. Amara was quiet for a moment, as if weighing her response carefully. Because you remind me of myself in those first months after my accident. Intelligent, determined, but struggling to see past your immediate circumstances to the possibilities ahead. And because I like talking to you. You ask thoughtful questions. You listen to the answers. You're working hard to adapt instead of wallowing in self-pity. I did my share of wallowing. For 3 days. Some patients wallow for years. Tristan smiled, realizing it was the first genuine smile he'd felt in weeks. I had a good doctor. You have a strong spirit. I just reminded you how to use it. Is it weird that I actually feel optimistic? Like maybe this isn't the end of the world. It's not weird at all. It's growth. Their eyes met and held for a moment longer than purely professional interaction would warrant. Tristan felt something stir in his chest, not the desperate, clinging need he'd felt for Veronica, but a warm recognition of genuine connection. Amara, yes, thank you. For everything. For saving my life. For helping me find my way back to myself. For seeing something in me worth salvaging. Tristan, you were never broken. You were just reorganized. The way she said his name, with warmth and genuine affection, made his heart skip. For the first time since his accident, Tristan began to wonder if maybe, just maybe, he might be capable of more than just surviving. Maybe he was capable of living. And maybe, with time and courage, he might even be capable of loving and being loved again. 3 weeks after his amputation surgery, Tristan was medically cleared to leave the hospital. The physical aspects of his recovery were progressing well, his surgical site was healed, his phantom pain was manageable, and he'd mastered most basic daily living skills. Emotionally, he felt like a different person than the broken man who had watched his wife walk away. He wasn't the same person he'd been before the accident either. This new version of himself was still taking shape, but he found himself cautiously optimistic about who he might become. All right, Mr. Blackwell, Amara said as she completed her final examination, you're officially ready to rejoin the world. It feels strange, leaving here. This place has been my whole world for almost a month. It's normal to feel anxious about taking the next step, but you've done incredibly well. I'm confident you'll continue to thrive. Tristan had been dreading this moment. In the hospital, with Amara checking on him regularly, he'd felt supported and understood. The thought of losing that connection filled him with unexpected sadness. Will I see you again? 4 follow-up appointments. You'll see Dr. Rodriguez for your ongoing care. He's excellent, specializes in long-term prosthetic rehabilitation. Oh, Tristan tried to hide his disappointment. Of course, that makes sense. Amara seemed to sense his mood shift. Tristan, part of recovery is learning to build new support systems outside the hospital. You'll make new connections, develop new relationships. I know. It's just, you've been so important to my recovery. I hate the thought of losing that. You're not losing anything. You're gaining independence. Tristan nodded, understanding the logic even if he didn't like the reality. You're right. I'm grateful for everything you've done. I'm proud of how hard you've worked. You should be proud too. As Tristan gathered his few belongings, he turned back to face Amara one more time. Can I ask you something? Of course. Would it be inappropriate for me to ask you to have coffee sometime? Not as a patient, but as someone who values your friendship. Amara's expression grew carefully neutral. Tristan, I need to be honest with you. You're in a vulnerable place right now. Your marriage just ended, you're dealing with a major life change, and I've been part of your recovery process. It would be easy to confuse gratitude and dependency with other feelings. I understand that. But what if it's not confusion? What if I've genuinely come to care about you as a person? Then I'd suggest you take some time to settle into your new life. Figure out who you are now, what you want, what you have to offer. If, in a few months, you still feel the same way, maybe we can revisit the conversation. Tristan felt disappointed but also impressed by her professionalism and wisdom. You're right. That's probably the smart approach. I care about your well-being, Tristan, all aspects of it. That includes not taking advantage of a situation where there's an inherent power imbalance. I respect that, and I respect you. Amara smiled warmly. Good luck, Tristan. I know you're going to do amazing things. As Tristan left Denver General Hospital for the first time in nearly a month, he felt a complex mix of emotions. Excitement about the future, anxiety about independence, sadness at leaving the safety of the hospital, and a deep appreciation for the woman who had helped him find his way back to hope. He also felt something else, determination. Determination to build a life worth living, to become a man worthy of respect and love, and to prove that losing his arm didn't mean losing his capacity for happiness. The healing is just beginning. Drop a like if you're feeling the connection building between them. Tristan's penthouse apartment felt like a museum when he returned, sterile, impersonal, filled with expensive objects that had no real meaning. Everything reminded him of his life with Veronica, from the designer furniture she'd chosen to the wedding photos he'd forgotten to remove before leaving for the climbing trip. The first thing he did was hire a service to pack up and donate everything that belonged to Veronica or reminded him of their marriage. The second thing he did was accidentally try to use his left hand to turn on a light switch and experience a moment of disorientation when his hand encountered empty space instead of the wall. This is going to take some getting used to, he said aloud to the empty apartment. The adjustment to life outside the hospital was harder than Tristan had expected. Simple tasks that he'd mastered in the controlled environment of physical therapy became frustrating challenges in his own space. His apartment had been designed for a person with 2 fully functional arms, and he found himself bumping into furniture, struggling with kitchen appliances, and generally feeling like a stranger in his own home. But he persevered, remembering Amara's words about small victories. Each successfully prepared meal, each independently completed task, each day of managing his own care felt like proof that he was capable of more than just surviving. Work was another adjustment entirely. Blackwell Technologies had been running under the leadership of his COO during his hospitalization, but Tristan knew he needed to return and establish his continued competence as CEO. He was nervous about how his employees and business partners would react to his changed appearance. His first day back, Tristan arrived early and went straight to his office, hoping to avoid the inevitable stares and awkward conversations. His assistant, Janet, greeted him with professional warmth that didn't quite hide her shock at seeing him with one arm. Mr. Blackwell, welcome back. How are you feeling? Better every day, Janet. Thank you. What's the most pressing issue I need to address? The Morrison contract negotiations have stalled. They're asking for modifications to the software that would require significant development time. Set up a video conference for this afternoon. I want to hear their concerns directly. Of course, sir. And Mr. Blackwell? If you need any accommodations, any assistance with anything, I'll let you know. But Janet, I'm still the same person I was before. I can still do my job. The video conference with Morrison Industries was Tristan's first real test of his professional competence post-amputation. He'd practiced using adaptive technologies to navigate his computer and take notes, but he was still nervous about performing under pressure. The meeting went better than expected. Tristan found that his intelligence, creativity, and business acumen were completely unaffected by his physical change. If anything, his recent experiences had given him new perspectives on problem-solving and adaptation that proved valuable in negotiations. "Tristan, I have to say, your proposed modifications to our software integration are brilliant," said Morrison's CEO over the video call. "We hadn't considered the accessibility features you're suggesting, but they would open up our platform to a much broader user base." "Thank you, David. I've gained some new insights into adaptive technology recently. It's amazing how many potential users are overlooked when software isn't designed with accessibility in mind." After the call ended successfully, Tristan felt a surge of confidence. He was still capable, still valuable, still able to contribute meaningfully to his company and his industry. That evening, alone in his apartment, Tristan found himself thinking about Amara. He wondered how her day had gone, what challenges she was facing with her patients, whether she ever thought about their conversations. He'd respected her suggestion to take time to settle into his new life before pursuing any kind of personal relationship. But as weeks passed and he grew more confident in his adaptation, his feelings for her didn't fade. If anything, they grew stronger. Amara had seen him at his absolute lowest point and helped him find his way back to hope. She'd treated him with dignity and respect when he felt broken and worthless. She believed in his potential when he couldn't believe in himself. More than that, she was brilliant, compassionate, funny, and strong in ways that had nothing to do with physical capability. She was the kind of person he wanted to build a life with, not because he needed her to complete him, but because they could be better together than either was alone. 3 months after leaving the hospital, Tristan made a decision. He was going to ask Amara Williams out to dinner. Not as a patient seeking comfort from his doctor, but as a man who had genuine feelings for a remarkable woman. First, though, he had some work to do. 6 months later, the Adaptive Technology Conference was packed with innovators, researchers, and advocates from around the world. Tristan stood at the podium, looking out at an audience of 500 people, his custom-designed prosthetic arm clearly visible as he gestured to emphasize his points. "When I lost my arm in a climbing accident 8 months ago, I thought my life as I knew it was over," Tristan said, his voice carrying clearly through the auditorium. "I thought I'd become a burden, a broken version of my former self. I was wrong." He clicked to his next slide, showing before and after photos of amputee patients who had returned to their careers as surgeons, athletes, artists, and engineers. Adaptive technology doesn't just help people with disabilities function, it helps them thrive. The software my company has developed can turn any smartphone into a powerful assistive device. Voice-activated controls, gesture recognition, artificial intelligence that learns user preferences, these aren't just conveniences. They're life changers. In the third row, Dr. Amara Williams watched with pride and something deeper. She'd been following Tristan's work from a distance, reading about his company's innovations in adaptive technology and his emerging role as an advocate for disability rights. Seeing him now, confident and passionate about his new mission, confirmed everything she believed about his potential. After his presentation, Amara made her way through the crowd to where Tristan was surrounded by conference attendees asking questions and requesting business cards. "Excuse me," she said when there was a brief lull. "Dr. Amara Williams. I was wondering if I could have a moment to discuss your research." Tristan turned, and his face lit up with genuine joy when he saw her. "Dr. Williams, this is an incredible surprise. What brings you to Seattle?" "I'm presenting my research on nerve regeneration in amputation patients tomorrow, but I have to say, your presentation was remarkable. You've come so far. I had an excellent teacher." The crowd around them was thinning as people moved on to other sessions. Tristan gestured toward a quieter corner of the conference hall. "Would you like to get coffee? I'd love to hear about your research." "I'd like that." As they walked toward the conference center's cafe, Tristan marveled at how natural it felt to be with Amara again. The months apart had given him perspective on his feelings. They weren't born from gratitude or dependency, but from genuine admiration and affection for who she was as a person. "You look good, Tristan," Amara said as they settled at a corner table with their coffee. "Confident. Happy. I feel good. Better than I have in years, actually." Tell me about the advocacy work. When did that start? Tristan's eyes lit up as he talked about discovering his new purpose. About 4 months ago. I was testing some of our new software with a group of amputee beta users, and I realized how many barriers still exist in everyday technology. Simple things that able-bodied people never think about, websites that require two-handed navigation, apps that don't work with prosthetics, voice recognition software that doesn't account for speech differences. So you decided to fix it. I decided to try. My company has pivoted about 30% of our development toward adaptive technology. We're working with hospitals, rehabilitation centers, and advocacy groups to create solutions that actually meet people's needs. Amara leaned forward, clearly impressed. That's incredible, Tristan. You're changing lives. We're trying to. But honestly, the work is as much about changing perceptions as it is about changing technology. People without disabilities often see adaptive devices as medical equipment, something sad or pitiable. I want them to see innovation, capability, human potential. And how's that going? Better than expected. We've had 3 major tech companies license our accessibility protocols. 2 universities have started research partnerships with us. And next month, I'm testifying before Congress about updating the Americans with Disabilities Act for the digital age. Amara studied his face as he talked, seeing the passion and purpose that radiated from him. This wasn't the broken man she'd left in the hospital 6 months ago. This was someone who had transformed his greatest challenge into his greatest strength. I'm proud of you, she said softly. Not just for adapting, but for using your experience to help others. I couldn't have done it without what you taught me. About seeing potential instead of limitations. About focusing on what I can do instead of what I can't. They talked for 2 hours, catching up on their lives and work. Amara told him about her latest research into nerve regeneration techniques that might eventually eliminate the need for amputation in some cases. Tristan shared stories from his advocacy work and the incredible people he'd met who were redefining what disability looked like. As the afternoon grew late, Tristan found himself reluctant to let the conversation end. Amara, I know you said I should take time to figure out my new life before we had this conversation, but I think enough time has passed. What conversation? The one where I tell you that my feelings for you aren't gratitude or dependency. They're genuine affection and respect for who you are as a person. The one where I ask if you'd be willing to have dinner with me sometime, not as doctor and patient, but as 2 people getting to know each other. Amara was quiet for a moment, considering his words. Tristan, you've clearly built an amazing new life for yourself. You're confident, purposeful, making a real difference in the world. But I need to ask, are you sure you're not idealizing me because I was there during a difficult time? I'm sure. These past 6 months have given me perspective on what I value in a person. Intelligence, compassion, strength, integrity, all qualities you have in abundance. My feelings aren't about what you did for me during my recovery. They're about who you are. And what exactly are you asking for? A chance to get to know you outside of a medical context. A chance to see if what I think I feel is real, and if it might be mutual. Amara smiled, and Tristan felt his heart skip. I think I'd like that. But slowly and carefully. As slowly and carefully as you want. I'm here until Thursday for the conference. Would you like to have dinner tomorrow night? I'd love nothing more. True love is blooming. Let me know in the comments if you're rooting for Tristan and Amara. Tristan spent an embarrassing amount of time choosing his outfit for dinner with Amara. He finally settled on dark slacks and a blue button-down shirt that he could manage easily with one hand. He learned to prioritize function alongside form in his clothing choices. He'd chosen a restaurant that was elegant but not overly formal, with excellent food and a quiet atmosphere that would encourage conversation. As he waited for Amara to arrive, Tristan reflected on how different this felt from dating before his accident. Then, he'd been focused on impressing women with his wealth and status. Now, he wanted Amara to see who he really was, including his limitations and vulnerabilities. Sorry I'm late, Amara said, appearing at his table in a flowing emerald dress that made her skin glow. My last conference session ran long. You look beautiful, Tristan said honestly, standing to pull out her chair. Thank you. This is a lovely place. As they settled into conversation over appetizers and wine, Tristan was struck by how natural it felt to be with Amara in a non-medical setting. She was funny, intelligent, and easy to talk to, with opinions on everything from healthcare policy to the latest Marvel movie. "Can I ask you something personal?" Tristan said over their main course. "Shoot. Have you ever been married? Serious relationships?" Amara smiled. "A few relationships over the years. One that got pretty serious when I was in my residency, but it didn't work out." "What happened?" "He couldn't handle dating someone with a prosthetic. Said it made him uncomfortable, that he couldn't stop thinking about what was missing." Amara's tone was matter-of-fact, but Tristan could hear the old hurt underneath. "I'm sorry. That must have been devastating. It was educational. I learned that I needed to be with someone who saw me as complete, not damaged. Someone who loved me for who I am, not despite what I'm not." Tristan nodded, understanding completely. "Veronica saw my amputation as a fundamental change in who I was. Like losing my arm somehow made me a different, lesser person. Did it change who you are?" Tristan considered the question seriously. "In some ways, yes. But mostly for the better. I'm more compassionate now, more aware of other people's struggles. I'm less focused on superficial things and more focused on what really matters. I think I'm actually a better person now than I was before. I can see that. The man I met in the hospital was intelligent and determined, but he was also angry and scared. Tonight, you seem settled, content with yourself. I am. For the first time in my life, I feel like I know who I am and what I want to contribute to the world. And what do you want? To use my resources and platform to make life better for people facing the challenges I've faced. To build technology that empowers instead of excludes. To show the world that disability doesn't mean inability." Amara leaned back in her chair, studying him with obvious admiration. "That's a beautiful mission. What about you? What drives you?" "The same thing that's always driven me, helping people overcome physical challenges to live full lives. My research into nerve regeneration could potentially eliminate the need for amputation in certain cases. Not because prosthetics are bad, but because people should have choices. That's incredible work. It's meaningful work. Sometimes I think about Marcus, my brother who died in our accident. I wonder what he would have accomplished if he'd lived, what contributions he would have made to medicine. You're making them for him. Maybe. Or maybe I'm just trying to honor his memory by being the best doctor I can be." As the evening progressed, Tristan found himself falling even deeper for this remarkable woman. Amara was brilliant without being arrogant, compassionate without being condescending, strong without being harsh. She challenged him intellectually while accepting him completely as he was. "Can I see you again?" he asked as they prepared to leave the restaurant. "I'd like that. But Tristan, I need to be honest about something." "Okay. I'm nervous about this. About us. Not because of your amputation, but because of how we met. There's always going to be this history of me being your doctor, of seeing you at your most vulnerable moment. Does that bother you? It creates complications. Power dynamics, questions about my professional judgment, concerns about whether your feelings are genuine or trauma-bonded." Tristan nodded, understanding her concerns. "What would make you feel more comfortable?" "Time. Patience. Proof that what we're feeling is real and not just gratitude or dependency dressed up as affection. I can give you all the time you need. And honesty. Complete honesty about what you're feeling and why. I can do that too." Amara smiled. "Then I think we have a chance at something real." Over the next 3 months, Tristan and Amara built a relationship based on mutual respect, intellectual compatibility, and growing emotional intimacy. They talked on the phone several times a week, visited each other when their schedules allowed, and gradually developed the kind of deep friendship that formed the foundation of lasting love. Tristan discovered that Amara was even more remarkable than he'd realized. She volunteered at a clinic for uninsured patients, mentored young women interested in medicine, and was working on a book about adaptive medical techniques. She was driven, passionate, and endlessly curious about the world around her. Amara, meanwhile, watched Tristan transform from a man recovering from trauma into a confident advocate and innovator. His company's adaptive technology had revolutionized assistive devices for thousands of users. His congressional testimony had led to new funding for accessibility research. His public speaking about disability rights was changing perceptions across the technology industry. "You know what I love about you?" Amara said one evening as they walked along the Denver River path. They'd been dating for 4 months, and the relationship had gradually deepened into something that felt permanent and right. Tell me, you don't see your amputation as something that happened to you. You see it as something that revealed who you really are. What do you mean? Before your accident, you were successful but not necessarily purposeful. You made money but not necessarily meaning. Losing your arm didn't diminish you, it focused you. Tristan stopped walking and turned to face her. Is that how you see me? I see you as someone who took the worst thing that ever happened to him and turned it into the best thing he ever did. The best thing I ever did was convince you to give me a chance. Amara's smile was radiant. That's a pretty good thing too. Their first kiss happened naturally, without drama or hesitation. Standing on the riverbank in the golden light of sunset, Tristan cupped Amara's face with his right hand and leaned down to touch his lips to hers. The kiss was gentle, tender, full of months of growing affection and respect. When they broke apart, both were smiling. That was worth waiting for, Amara said softly. Everything about you is worth waiting for. Tristan, yeah, I love you. The words hit him like sunshine after rain. I love you too. So much. Good. Because I'm ready to stop being careful and start being real. Moving from friendship to romance brought new challenges and deeper intimacy. Amara had to navigate the professional implications of dating a former patient, while Tristan had to overcome lingering insecurities about his physical capabilities. Their first night together was tender, patient, and profoundly moving. Amara's acceptance of his body, her obvious attraction to him as he was, healed wounds in Tristan's psyche that he'd barely acknowledged existed. You're beautiful, she whispered against his skin, tracing the scars where his arm had been amputated with gentle fingers. I'm missing a limb. You're whole exactly as you are. Their physical intimacy was matched by emotional honesty. They talked about their fears, their dreams, their past relationships, and future hopes. Amara shared her lingering guilt about surviving the accident that killed her brother. Tristan opened up about his feelings of inadequacy and his fear that he'd never be enough for someone as accomplished as Amara. Do you know what attracted me to you? Amara asked one night as they lay together in her apartment. My devastating good looks and winning personality. She laughed. Your resilience. Your willingness to grow. The way you chose hope over despair, purpose over self-pity. That's not attractive because you're missing an arm. It's attractive because it shows who you are as a person. I chose those things because you showed me they were possible. No, Tristan. You chose them because that's who you are. I just reminded you. 18 months after their first date, Tristan knew he wanted to spend the rest of his life with Amara. But he also knew that a proposal had to reflect who they were as a couple, thoughtful, purposeful, and meaningful. He arranged for them to visit the rehabilitation center where they'd first begun working together on adaptive technology research. Under the pretense of showing Amara the center's new equipment, he led her to the room where they'd had their first real conversation about possibilities and potential. This is where you taught me that losing my arm didn't mean losing my future, Tristan said, pulling Amara to a stop in the middle of the physical therapy room. I remember. You were so angry and scared. And you were so patient and wise. Tristan reached into his jacket pocket with his right hand, pulling out a simple but elegant ring box. Amara Williams, you saved my life in every way a person can be saved. You saw potential when I saw only loss. You believed in me when I couldn't believe in myself. You loved me not despite my limitations, but because of my possibilities. Amara's eyes filled with tears as she realized what was happening. I want to spend the rest of my life being worthy of your love, Tristan continued, dropping to one knee with practiced ease. I want to be your partner in everything, your work, your dreams, your daily adventures, your quiet moments. I want to build a family with you, change the world with you, grow old with you. Amara Williams, will you marry me? The ring was perfect, a vintage emerald surrounded by diamonds, elegant and timeless without being ostentatious. But Amara was looking at Tristan's face, not the ring. Yes, she said, laughing through her tears. Yes, absolutely yes. As Tristan slipped the ring onto her finger and stood to kiss her, Amara marveled at how perfectly right this felt. This wasn't a proposal born from desperation or rebound emotions. This was a partnership between equals, a love story built on mutual respect and genuine affection. I love you, Tristan Blackwell. All of you. Forever. I love you too, Dr. Soon-to-be Blackwell. Dr. Williams Blackwell, thank you very much. I worked too hard for that degree to give up my name entirely. Tristan laughed. I wouldn't dream of asking you to. Their wedding 6 months later was a celebration of love, resilience, and the power of second chances. Instead of a traditional church ceremony, they chose to marry at the Adaptive Technology Center Tristan had helped fund, surrounded by friends, family, and the patients and colleagues who had become their extended community. Amara's wedding dress was stunning but practical, designed to accommodate her prosthetic arm without hiding it. Tristan wore a custom tuxedo with subtle design elements that made dressing with one hand easier. They'd insisted that their wedding be accessible to all their guests, with sign language interpreters, wheelchair accessibility, and adaptive technology demonstrations for guests curious about their work. Do you, Tristan, take Amara to be your partner in all things, your equal in all endeavors, your companion through all challenges, and your love for all time? I do, completely and forever. Do you, Amara, take Tristan to be your partner in all things, your equal in all endeavors, your companion through all challenges, and your love for all time? I do, with all my heart. The reception was joyful and meaningful, with speeches that celebrated not just their love, but their individual and collective contributions to the disability rights community. Tristan's best man, a fellow amputee who had become a close friend through their advocacy work, joked about how Tristan had found the one woman in the world who could literally give him a hand when he needed it. Amara's maid of honor, her medical school roommate, spoke about watching Amara transform from someone who helped patients adapt to their limitations into someone who helped them transcend those limitations entirely. To Tristan and Amara, the best man concluded his toast, who proved that love isn't about finding someone to complete you, but finding someone to complement you perfectly. As they danced their first dance as husband and wife, Tristan marveled at how completely happy he felt. This wasn't the desperate, clinging happiness he'd felt with Veronica. This was the deep, settled contentment of being truly known and truly loved. Any regrets? Amara asked as they swayed to their favorite song. Only one. What's that? I wish I could have met you sooner. But then again, maybe I needed to go through everything I went through to be ready for you. I think we found each other exactly when we were supposed to. I love you, Mrs. Williams Blackwell. I love you too, Mr. Blackwell. 2 years into their marriage, Amara surprised Tristan with news that changed everything. I'm pregnant, she announced over breakfast one morning, sliding a positive pregnancy test across the table. Tristan stared at the test, then at his wife, then back at the test. Are you serious? Very serious. About 10 weeks along. Tristan felt a surge of joy so intense it took his breath away. We're having a baby? We're having a baby. He was around the table and pulling her into his arms before she could blink. This is incredible. Amazing. Perfect. Are you ready to be a father? The question sobered Tristan slightly. I don't know. I mean, yes, I want this more than anything. But what if I can't do the things fathers are supposed to do? What if my limitations affect our child? Amara cupped his face in her hands. Tristan, you've spent the last 3 years proving that limitations are just challenges waiting for creative solutions. You'll be an amazing father. What if the baby needs something I can't provide? Then we'll figure it out together, just like we always do. The pregnancy was healthy and uneventful. Tristan threw himself into preparing for fatherhood with the same determination he'd brought to his rehabilitation and advocacy work. He researched adaptive parenting techniques, consulted with other parents with disabilities, and worked with designers to create adaptive baby gear that would allow him to be a fully participating father. Look at this, he said excitedly one evening, showing Amara a prototype baby carrier he'd helped design. It distributes weight across the torso instead of relying on arm strength. Any parent with upper limb differences can use it. That's brilliant. You should patent it. I'm planning to. But first, I want to test it with our little one. Their daughter, Zora Williams Blackwell, was born on a snowy February morning after 12 hours of labor. When the doctor placed her in Tristan's arms for the first time, he was overwhelmed by the intensity of his love for this tiny person. She's perfect, he whispered, studying her tiny features. Absolutely perfect. Just like her daddy, Amara said softly. She has your nose. And your stubborn chin. Zara was a happy, healthy baby who adapted naturally to having a father with one arm. She learned to wrap her tiny fingers around his prosthetic just as easily as around Amara's natural hands. She giggled when he made silly faces during diaper changes and slept peacefully against his chest during bottle feedings. "She doesn't see you as different," Amara observed one evening, watching Tristan give Zara her bath with practiced ease. "To her, you're just daddy." "That's all I ever wanted to be." When Zara was 6 months old, Tristan received an unexpected phone call at his office. "Tristan, it's Veronica." The voice he hadn't heard in nearly 4 years stopped him cold. "Veronica, this is unexpected. I know. I'm sorry to call you at work, but I really need to talk to you. In person. I don't think that's a good idea. Please, just one conversation. I've been following your work, your success, and I need to apologize. Properly." Against his better judgment, Tristan agreed to meet Veronica for coffee the following afternoon. He told Amara about the call, and while she wasn't thrilled about the meeting, she trusted Tristan completely. "Just remember who you are now and who loves you," Amara said, kissing him goodbye. "Don't let her make you forget that." Veronica looked older when Tristan met her at a neutral coffee shop downtown. Still beautiful, still impeccably dressed, but there was something fragile about her that hadn't been there before. She stood when he entered, her eyes immediately drawn to his prosthetic arm and the wedding ring on his right hand. "Tristan, you look wonderful. Happy. Thank you. You look well too." They ordered coffee and sat at a corner table, the awkwardness thick between them. "I saw the article about you in Forbes," Veronica said finally. "About your company's adaptive technology and your advocacy work. It's incredible what you've accomplished." "Thank you. And I heard you got married." "Congratulations." "Her name is Amara. She's a surgeon. We have a daughter." Veronica's face crumpled slightly. "You have a family." "I do. Tristan, I need to say this. I was wrong. Completely, devastatingly wrong. I should never have left you when you needed me most. I should never have said the things I said." "Veronica." "No, please let me finish. I've spent the last 4 years watching you from a distance, seeing what you've become, and realizing what I threw away. You didn't become less after your accident. You became more. More compassionate, more purposeful, more everything I should have wanted in a husband." Tristan studied her face, seeing genuine regret, but also something that looked like calculation. "What exactly are you asking for?" "A second chance." "I know it's probably too late. I know you've moved on, but I had to try. I'm different now too, Tristan. I've learned what really matters." "And what's that?" "Love. Real love. The kind that doesn't disappear when things get difficult." Tristan felt a mixture of pity and sadness as he looked at his ex-wife. "Veronica, I appreciate the apology. I really do. But I'm not the same man you married. And even if I were, too much has happened. Because of her, your new wife. Because of me. Because I've learned what I deserve in a partner, what real love looks like. What you and I had wasn't love, it was convenience, mutual benefit, shared social status. It was never real. It could be real now. We could try again." "No, we couldn't." Tristan's voice was gentle but firm. "Veronica, I wish you happiness. I really do. But my happiness is with Amara and our daughter. They're my family now." Veronica's eyes filled with tears. "I'm sorry, Tristan. For everything. For being shallow and cruel and selfish. For wasting what we had. We didn't have anything worth keeping. But thank you for the apology. I hope you find what you're looking for. I already found it. I just threw it away." As Tristan left the coffee shop, he felt a deep sense of closure. Seeing Veronica again had only confirmed how right his life with Amara was, how completely he'd moved beyond the man he used to be. That evening, he told Amara about the conversation while they gave Zara her evening bath together. "How do you feel?" Amara asked. "Grateful. Seeing her reminded me how lucky I am to have found real love." "Are you tempted at all? To wonder what might have been?" Tristan looked at his wife, brilliant, beautiful, holding their daughter with infinite tenderness, and laughed. "Not even for a second. This life, this family, this love, it's everything I never knew I wanted." "Good answer." "It's the only answer." 5 years after Zara's birth, the Blackwell-Williams family had grown and thrived beyond Tristan's wildest dreams. Their adaptive technology foundation had helped thousands of people with disabilities access education, employment, and independence. Amara's research had led to breakthrough treatments that prevented amputation in many cases. Together, they had become leading voices in the disability rights movement. "Daddy, watch," Zara called from the playground, hanging upside down from the monkey bars with fearless confidence. "I'm watching, sweetheart. You're amazing." At 5 years old, Zara was smart, funny, and completely unaware that having a father with one arm was unusual in any way. She helped Tristan with tasks that required 2 hands with the casual efficiency of a child who had never known anything different. "Daddy needs help with his buttons," she would announce matter-of-factly when he was getting dressed for important meetings. "That's right, baby girl. Teamwork makes everything easier." Amara, now pregnant with their second child, watched her husband and daughter with endless love and pride. "She's going to be an amazing big sister," she said, settling onto the park bench beside Tristan. "And you're going to be an amazing mother of 2. Are you scared? Terrified? You? Same. But we've gotten pretty good at figuring things out as we go." Their son, Marcus, named after Amara's brother, was born that fall, healthy and perfect. Zara took her role as big sister seriously, helping with everything from diaper changes to bottle feedings. "Baby Marcus needs his blankie," she would announce, bringing her brother his favorite stuffed animal. "Thank you, sweetheart. You're such a good helper." "I'm the best helper. Right, Daddy? Absolutely the best." As Tristan looked around their home, filled with laughter, toys, family photos, and the comfortable chaos of daily life, he marveled at how completely his perspective had changed. The man who had once defined success by stock prices and board meetings now measured his worth by bedtime stories read, scraped knees comforted, and small hands reaching for his. "Do you ever think about the accident?" Amara asked one evening as they sat on their back porch, watching Zara push Marcus on his toddler swing. "Sometimes, but not with regret anymore." "What do you think about?" "How losing my arm gave me everything that really matters. You, the kids, meaningful work, real purpose. I wouldn't change anything about how we got here. Not even the pain. The fear? Veronica leaving?" Tristan considered the question seriously. "Especially not those things. They taught me who I really am and what I really value. They brought me to you. I love you, Tristan Blackwell. I love you too, Dr. Williams Blackwell. More than I ever thought possible." As the sun set over their backyard, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink, Tristan reflected on the unexpected journey that had brought him to this moment. He had lost an arm and gained a life. He had lost a wife and found a soulmate. He had lost his old identity and discovered his true purpose. The foundation he and Amara had built together was changing lives around the world. Their children were growing up with an understanding of resilience, compassion, and the infinite possibilities of human adaptation. Their love story had become a testament to the power of second chances and the beauty of finding your person when you're finally ready to be your authentic self. "Daddy's story time," Zara called from the back door. "Coming, sweetheart." As Tristan stood to go inside, Amara caught his hand, his right hand, the one that had learned to do everything his left hand used to do and more. "Thank you," she said softly. "For what?" "For choosing to live. For choosing to grow. For choosing us. Thank you for seeing who I could become when I couldn't see it myself. That's what love does. It sees potential and helps it bloom." Inside, their children were waiting with favorite books and excited chatter about their day. This was Tristan's definition of success now, not the size of his bank account or the power of his position, but the love in his home and the positive impact he could make in the world. He had learned that true wealth wasn't measured in dollars, but in moments like these. Real success wasn't about individual achievement, but about lifting others up. And genuine love wasn't about finding someone to complete you, but finding someone who celebrated you exactly as you are while inspiring you to become even better. As he settled into the reading chair with Zara on one side and Marcus on the other, while Amara curled up nearby with her hand resting on her growing belly, Tristan knew he was the richest man in the world. If this story of true love and second chances touched your heart, please subscribe for more incredible love stories. Share this with someone who believes that our greatest challenges can lead to our greatest blessings. Tell me in the comments, do you believe everything happens for a reason? I read every single one. Sometimes the most devastating losses become our greatest gifts. Sometimes the people who abandon us in our darkest moments clear the way for those who will love us in our light. And sometimes, losing everything we thought we wanted helps us discover everything we actually need. Tristan Blackwell had learned all of these truths the hard way. But as he looked around at his beautiful family, his meaningful work, and the life he'd built from the ashes of his old existence, he knew every painful step had been worth taking. Love had found him when he was finally ready to receive it. Purpose had called him when he was finally ready to answer. And happiness had embraced him when he was finally ready to embrace it back. That was the real miracle, not that he had survived losing his arm, but that he had thrived because of it. And in the arms of Dr. Amara Williams Blackwell, surrounded by their children and their shared mission to make the world more accessible and compassionate, Tristan had found something more valuable than anything he'd ever dreamed possible. He had found home.